Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Stephanie.
I'm Tom.
It's our literature unit, guys. And we're focusing on the novel called Before I Fall, which is a young adult novel, which means a lot of the themes and ideas have to do with growing up, that period of time when you're changing into an adult. It's kind of a tough time for a lot of us, most of us. Even people who are popular have a difficult time in high school. So that's what we're focusing on in this book. Our main character is Samantha Kingston, or Sam as she's called. And she, unfortunately, has gotten herself involved with some friends that aren't very nice people, to say the least, huh? Her best friend at this point in time, at least, is Lindsay, who's described as being the school's queen bee. Lindsay is not a nice person. And at the same time, Sam is dating this popular guy who's pretty good looking, and his name is Rob. He also is kind of a jerk. And then we have some other people that you'll hear their names come up, like Kent. He's a nice guy, a little strange, but he's nice. We've got Juliet, who is Lindsay's former best friend, but Lindsay is someone now that Lindsay's whole group of mean girls bully. So she is a big part of this story, as we're going to find out. What we do learn in day one is that at the end of this day, February 12th, and she goes to a party with these kids at Ken's house. At the end of the day, Sam actually is killed in a car crash or a car accident. And she wakes up the next day thinking that was just a dream. But she wakes up and then relives this day over and over. When we left you at the end of day one, she had already relived February 12th twice. So she tries different actions. I think her goal is to try to somehow avoid having to die. So she tries to change the actions, hoping that it will affect the end of February 12th. So she'll, manage to survive and not be killed.
Kind of interesting that it's only when she has the threat of death does she decide to be a nice person. Otherwise, she probably would have gone on to continue being a bully with her friend Lindsay. So that probably tells you something about people in society. We're just not as nice as we like to think we are. But let's find out about the author herself in today's lesson. And we'll talk about some themes and ideas as well. So let's get to it. Let's read through the entire contents of today's lesson one time.
February 12th comes again, and Sam reacts with despair and fury. She lashes out at friends and breaks many rules. At the party, she induces Rob to have sex with her as a distraction. Before anything happens, though, Rob falls asleep. Sam collapses in tears and is found by Kent, who lets her stay the night and takes care of her. As the day repeats a fifth time, Sam decides to spend quality time with her family. At a restaurant, she sees Juliet's sister and asks her to tell Juliet not to do it. Sam wonders if saving Juliet will end the time loop. She finds Juliet at Kent's house, but cannot stop her from jumping in front of Lindsay's speeding car and dying again. Kent consoles Sam, telling her he's wanted to be her hero since she defended him from bullies as a child. On day 6, Sam wakes up, resolving to right her wrongs, although her plans backfire. She apologizes to Juliet at the party, but Juliet can't accept it. Despite all efforts, Juliet still dies. Sam speaks to Lindsay about her past actions toward Juliet, and Lindsay apologizes. Sam shares a kiss with Kent after he drives her home. As day 7 begins, Sam perceives that it's her last. She says fond goodbyes to her family and gives gifts to important people in her life. She spends her final hours with Kent and later with her friends, and then awaits Juliet's arrival at the party. This time, as Juliet runs into the road, Sam sacrifices her life to save her. Sam then sees her real greatest hits with loved ones go by, and she passes away at peace.
Okay, let's start to talk about today's lesson, reliving your last day before I fall. So we're continuing to talk about the plot of our featured novel for the month of September, Before I Fall, by Lauren Oliver. So here's what's happening next. February 12th comes again, and Sam reacts with despair and fury. Now, remember, she's caught in a time loop. The day keeps repeating. So again, she's kind of stuck on February 12th here. It comes again, and then she reacts with despair and fury. So this is how she reacts because the day comes again. So she has a reaction to that. She acts a certain way as a result of the day coming. She reacts with despair. Now, despair here just means you've lost all hope, a state or situation of hopelessness.
Right, and this word fury is a noun, and it's related to the adjective furious. Fury is just a lot of violent anger somebody has inside. And if you have that kind of anger, usually you do something like Sam does in the next sentence. It says she lashes out at friends and breaks many rules. To lash out at someone can either be attacking someone with your words, so attacking somebody verbally, or it could be that you actually punch people or kick people. A lot of times, little toddlers, kids who don't quite understand what's going on, if they get mad, they will lash out. They don't lash out with words. They usually kick something, kick something or hit something. Well, she lashes out at friends and breaks many rules. At the party, she induces Rob to have sex with her as a distraction. To induce is a word that just means persuade. So she persuades Rob to have sex with her, not because she wants to, but it will help her forget this kind of nightmare she's in. Distraction is something that takes your attention away from what you're doing. Yeah, she tries to persuade Rob, her boyfriend, to have sex with her at the party as a distraction or something that keeps her from giving, her frustration all her attention because she is frustrated.
Yep, it's kind of a difficult situation for her to deal with, so she just wants to think about something else. She needs a distraction, so she thinks, hey, I'll go have sex for the first time with my boyfriend, Rob. That will distract me. I won't have to worry about all these other problems I'm having. But before anything happens, though, Rob falls asleep. He was drunk, remember, he drank too much. And he was basically too drunk to perform there. And, of course, Sam is disappointed. She collapses in tears and is found by Kent, who lets her stay the night and takes care of her. Remember, Kent is the kind boy. He's a nice kid, but he's kind of peculiar. He might even be kind of a nerd or something like that, but he's not really taken seriously by these popular people. But she's having problems, and she collapses in tears. Maybe she has a nervous breakdown or something like that. To collapse just means kind of to fall down. It could mean physically or emotionally. So yeah, she collapses. She just has an emotional breakdown and she starts crying, and Kent notices this. Hey, what's wrong? Let me take care of you. You can stay overnight here and I'll get you something to eat and maybe something to drink. Maybe I'll play some soft music for you, whatever you want.
Yeah, he really likes Sam. He has a crush on her, just so you know. So this is his dream. He has a chance to actually help her. Yeah, collapse, like Tom said, could mean either just, you don't have any energy left and you collapse at the end of the day, or maybe a building collapses because it's being taken down, or a bomb, blew something up and the building collapses. So as the day repeats a fifth time, this is the fifth time she's living through February 12th, Sam decides to spend quality time with her family. So this is a different way of treating her day. So at a restaurant, she runs into or sees Juliet's sister and asks the sister to pass a message along to Juliet. And this is the message in quotations, not to do it. And she knows if Juliet hears that phrase, Juliet will know what she means. And what she's talking about, of course, is don't kill yourself. Don't commit suicide.
It's interesting how she would know. I'm sure Juliet would be surprised. How does she know that's what I'm thinking of doing? But we'll continue talking about the plot of our featured novel in just a couple of seconds. But right now, we're going to take a break and listen to our Chinese teacher.
Hi everyone, my name is Jenny. 今天我们要继续看第14单元。好，我要谈这部小说 Before I Fall。还有机会说再见。当然，我们知道文章里的女主角是 Sam。2月12号对她来说非常特别，因为她不但过了一次，她过了2次。我们今天要看她第3次怎么过2月12号。当然，她又发现同样的一天，心情是很绝望的。那她怎么做呢？ Lashes out at friends， 把气驾怒于别人。好，我们知道前一天说过2月12号有一个 party。好，那她当时本来是想要跟 Rob 发生性关系，那么这一次她过第3次的2月12号，她就想要做这件事，分散她的注意力。可是跟她预期相反的是Rob 睡着了，所以 Sam 当然非常的难过collapses in tears。 我们知道 collapse 这个字，当然你可以讲桥塌了，房子塌了，那人的话就是崩溃。再来，我们继续往下读，下面就说到了第5次重复2月12号的这一天， Sam 他的想法改了，他打算要跟他的家人共度 quality time。 所谓的 quality time 当然就是指美好的时光。好，还要记得的就是 spend 这个字，当你说你要跟家人共度时光， spend time with your family， 这个介系词是 with。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Okay, let's continue with our lesson. We're continuing with the plot of our story, Before I Fall. Now, this part of the story is when Sam is living the day over and over again, okay? This is February 12th, and the first time she lived that day, she actually died in a car crash. The car she was in with Lindsay hit something in the road and flipped over, and she was killed instantly. But she woke up and she thought it was the next day, but it turns out that it's the same day and she's reliving this day over and over again. So she's trying to figure out a way to stop this cycle. So again, she's had this happen to her a number of times here. And in today's lesson, we found out that, hey, she's full of despair and fury. She lashes out at her friends and breaks rules. And she wants Rob to have sex with her, but he's too tired. He falls asleep. And then she starts crying. She collapses in tears. Kent finds her and says, hey, what's wrong? I'll take care of you. You can stay overnight. And as the day repeats a 5th time, Sam decides to spend quality time with her family. At the restaurant, she sees Juliet's sister and asks her to tell Juliet not to do it, which probably means to commit suicide. And Sam wonders if saving Juliet will end the time loop. Yeah, she doesn't want to keep living this day over and over again. So she thinks, if I can convince Juliet, the girl that we bullied, if I can convince her not to commit suicide, maybe the day will end finally, and maybe my life will end as well.
Sadly, no. She finds Juliet at Kent's house, but cannot stop her from jumping in front of Lindsay's speeding car and dying again. Ah, darn it. And Kent then consoles Sam, telling her he's wanted to be her hero since she defended him from bullies as a child. In this sentence, we discovered that Sam was actually a really nice person as a younger child because she even went to Kent's defense when he was being bullied a long time ago. Remember, he's kind of a peculiar boy, kind of strange. And if you are anything different than the norm, people will always kind of, tease you, bully you, treat you badly. Kent consoles Sam. To console someone is just to give someone comfort, usually because they're really upset. Maybe they've had a big disappointment. Maybe they lost a game, lost a competition, or even worse, maybe they had someone they love pass away or die. He consoles Sam, and that's when he tells her, "Wow, you've always been a hero to me because you came to my defense when others were bullying me as a child." So now we know why Kent likes or maybe even thinks he's in love with Sam.
And on day 6, Sam wakes up resolving to right her wrongs. So here we've got the verb to resolve, which as a verb here just means that you're going to try to find a solution to a problem, okay? You kind of promise to do this. You're going to resolve. You're going to promise. You're going to figure this out. You're going to right your wrongs. You're going to correct all the bad things you've done in the past. You're going to talk to those people, say sorry, and try to make amends.
That's right. If you can, actually. It says here, though, even though she does resolve or make a decision to, right her wrongs, do the things right that she had done wrong earlier, her plans backfire. If something backfires, guys, just the opposite result happens that you planned on. Maybe you thought that by being nice to someone that they would be friends with you. But what happens is they tell everybody, she was nice to me because I'm so cool. I'd never be friends with her, though, would you? It backfires. You get the opposite result of what you were looking for. Maybe you thought that jogging every day was going to give you better health, at least make you thinner, and it backfires. You end up eating more because you're more hungry because you're jogging. That's a terrible thing to happen, but sometimes things backfire. Now, she apologizes to Juliet at the party, but Juliet can't accept it. Yeah, it's probably a little too late. Despite all efforts, Juliet still dies. And Sam speaks to Lindsay about her past actions toward Juliet, and Lindsay apologizes. I think this is good. Lindsay sounds like a mean girl, right? But when Sam talks to Lindsay about how mean she's been to Juliet all these years, Lindsay recognizes it and actually apologizes. That's good. And then Sam shares a kiss with Kent after he drives her home. That's day 6. Remember the repeated 6th time.
So lots of new things are happening here. Juliet does not accept the apology. I don't blame her. Of course, Sam probably is changing her ways too quickly there. She probably doesn't trust her. Juliet doesn't trust her. But then Lindsay kind of spills her guts there. She kind of confesses that, hey, she did some mean things in the past as well. So she apologizes. And so it seems like things are kind of working out here a little bit. And Kent even is lucky here. He gets to have a kiss with Sam here. Sam has always been his hero. Kent has a crush on her.
Yeah.
Maybe Kent is too much of a nice guy, but Sam realizes, hey, maybe this guy is not so bad after all. And that happens after he drives her home. So we're now on day 7 of the time loop. So as day 7 begins, Sam perceives that it's her last. Okay, here we've got the verb to perceive. That just means you are able to see something. You are aware of that thing. You know it exists. You're conscious of that thing existing. So she perceives or she realizes that it's going to be her last day. It's the last day of her life.
Yeah, so she understands that it's her last. She says fond goodbyes. A fond goodbye, if you're fond of someone, you like them a lot. You could even love them. And here she takes extra time to say goodbye to her family and gives gifts to important people in her life. We're not told who these people are, but, she really does try to use the time she has left to do the things that are most important to her. And she spends her final hours with Kent and later with her friends and then awaits Juliet's arrival at the party. So she goes ahead and does attend that party, guys. And she's there with her friends. And she awaits or waits for Juliet's arrival at the party. So remember, Juliet isn't at the party, even on the very first day, February 12th. Juliet arrives after everybody is already there. So this time, it happens the same way. This time, though, as Juliet runs into the road, and we find out that's what made the car crash, right? Sam sacrifices her life to save her. If you sacrifice something, it means you give up something good for something that's even better, something that's even more important to you. So you might sacrifice your time in order to help a younger brother or sister do their homework, or you might sacrifice your day off to go and help a charity and do something good for some other people. So you're giving up something good for something better in terms of how you judge things. So she sacrifices her life, which means she goes after her and is willing to die in order to save Juliet's life. It's pretty
And
cool.
then Sam sees her real greatest hits with loved ones go by, and she passes away at peace. We were talking about the greatest hits. Sometimes a singer will release a greatest hits album with all their top songs on it. Elton John's greatest hits or something. It's going to have Rocket Man on there and Crocodile Rock or whatever. But in this particular case, it's the most significant moments of her life. They flash by as she passes away, which sounds like a nice ending there, but I can't help but feeling sorry for Kent there because he was making progress with Sam there, and now she's died. So what's Kent gonna do about finding a girlfriend?
Oh, that's going to be a sad time for Kent. But he had a great friendship with her. And at the end, it was really positive, which is great. The book itself has a wonderful line at the end where Juliet is holding Sam after she's been hit by the car and is saying, you saved my life. And Sam looks back at Juliet and says, no, you saved mine. So it's a pretty cool ending, I think. But there are lots of things to learn in this book, I think. One of the most important things is treat people nicely. Be a good friend. You don't have to bully anybody. And if someone wants you to bully somebody, walk away from that person.
And try to make amends as well. If you did bully someone,
apologize.
They probably still remember that, and they're having a difficult life because of it. So call them up and say, sorry, I did that to you. You'll feel better if you do. Okay, that brings us to the end of our lesson for today. Thank you for joining us, and please join us again next time for another edition of our program. But before we say goodbye, we need to hear from our Chinese teacher.
好，对于 Sam 来说，其实他很想要改变之前他所犯的错，还想要阻止 Juliet， 希望Juliet 不要因为他而死。那怎么样阻止，怎么样结束这样的时空的轮回呢？他想说，我要怎么做？是不是可以这样做？那其实基本上他是希望不要再让这样的时空轮回一直不断在他的生命里面发生。好，所以呢，他想要阻止一些事情的发生，包括想要阻止 Juliet 死亡。这里可是他没有办法。Cannot stop her from jumping in front of Lindsay's speeding car. 阻止她跳车，在她这个 Lindsay 的那个加速的车子之前，就变成是自杀了哦。好，那所以说她想阻止 Juliet 死亡。不过呢，后来 Kent 就安慰 Sam， 告诉他说，其实 Kent 很喜欢 Sam， 因为 Sam 小时候其实曾经为 Kent就是挺身而出，所以Kent 本身是喜欢 Sam， 而且希望成为 Sam 的英雄。好，我们看到第5天之后，现在来的第6天，也就是第6次的2月12号。这次呢 Sam 他醒过来，他决定了，他要 right her wrongs。right 把它当动词，那就表示让所有的错误都变对了，意思就是要痛改前非。所以说他计划到最后呢，是不是能够如愿，并没有适得其反。其实他是向 Juliet 道歉了，可是并没有被接受，而且尽管如此 Juliet 还是死了。所以说 Sam 就告诉 Lindsay， 之前我们其实都错了。好，我们来看到最后这一天，第7天，轮回到第7次的2月12号 Sam 已经决定这是他最后一天。谈到这里，大家就知道 Sam 的决定是什么了。他想要牺牲他自己的生命，然后来解救 Juliet， 让他之前的错误一切消失于零。所以呢，这边我们就看到有一个地方他怎么做。他说他等着 Juliet 来。好，我们注意到等待，通常我们谈等待是 wait for somebody， 可是如果你用 await， 好，注意到 await 这个字是一个及物动词哦，你就不需要再加介系词了。await Juliet's arrival， 等待不管是人或事情，直接加那个受词，像这边就是一个Juliet's arrival 名词片语。好，接下来我们知道事情的发生就是 Sam 他决定牺牲他的生命，救了 Juliet。 然后呢 Sam 就看到了他的家人朋友一起度过那些真正最美好的时刻，而他自己则安详的死去。我们要注意到的另外一个重点就是 greatest hits， 在这个文章里面其实它是有双重的意义的。以这边来说，他的死其实就是撞车死掉，但另外一个说法当然也是他人生最美好的时刻。好，我们讲解就到这边，我们结束咯，下次见。
Okay, that brings us to the end of our program, as I said. And please join us again next time for another edition of our program. From all of us here at English Digest, I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie.
Goodbye.
Bye.